Good morning and welcome to a Saturday edition of Hobby Hotline on Bench Clear Media. Special episode today because we're going to have a lot of fun with my friends John and Erica. I'm Danny Black from Sports Vault, and we're feeling a little silly today talking about cards, so we're going to have a lot of fun. John, Erica, good morning. How are you guys?
Morning. What's going on out there?
I think we'll say
good morning.
Yep, good morning to the Sports Card Shop at MoCo. They should be joining us in a second. I'll say hi. We got a lot going on. We were planning a show, and then there was some breaking news last night. Sounds like we got another PSA situation going on. And after Mark's cards, I think we all kind of thought this was maybe done. But it looks like that Ludkin's Collectibles out of the UK has been not paying their bills with PSA. And unfortunately, in a similar situation, not only are they not paying their bills, they're not cooperating with PSA and turning over the names and the cards and who they go to. And the real loser in this ultimately is the card holders that are now left up in the air. So let me throw it to you, Erica, first. What are your first thoughts as you hear about this?
It's really sad that the consumers have to deal with the business's faults. So it really drives me up a wall because people are already hesitant to use group subbers to begin with. So it's just another nasty mark on it.
John, as somebody who is familiar with group subbers also, what were your first reactions?
I just, this is not only on this Ludkins, and we know about the Mark's card deal, Danny, but this is like, I don't know why you should have to pay up front. Like, especially with a bulk sub or group subber. So, for example, in December, I'm doing the big mega collector show here in Syracuse. It's 200 tables. I'm going to be bulk subbing for SGC. SGC is going to charge me up front when I turn in whatever those cards that are submitted to me on the show. So,
wait, John, say that again. John, say that again. You have to pay SGC up front?
Yeah, when you send in the card, you got to put them in the system, right? And you got to put your whatever way you're paying. PayPal, credit card, you got to put that info in there. For me, it's already in there. So I just got to click, that's the way I want this to be paid. And it's paid. I pay before, I even mail those cards to Boca Raton. I've paid. That's, PSA, I know with bulk subbing, they obviously it gets them a lot of business and they try to sort of throw them a bone, but this is happening now. To me, once is too many, but I get it. Mistakes happen, but you gotta charge up front because 99% of that bulk sub's not the bulk subbers cards, right? It's other people. So they're the ones that are going to take it on the chin when a bill doesn't get paid. But if you just insist, and so if you're a bulk subber, you've already collected payment from the people subbing with you. So why can't you just pay your bill? That's the part. It's a shell game. Are they taking that money? We know what happened with Mark's cards. He was opening a store, so he was using the bulk sub money to fund the opening of his store. PSA, SGC, whoever needs to just, pay first and then send your cards in.
And maybe I misunderstood, but I thought after the Mark's cards, PSA was demanding payment up front from the subgraders.
I thought so too. It's been a year. Like I subbed to PSA, but it's either through, be honest with you, full disclosure, Logan or Iron Sports Cards, who's a sponsor of my podcast. I assumed they were, demanding payment up front too, but apparently when these stories come out, that's obviously not the case.
Yes, Sports Card Show. Don't people in that case get free grades? My understanding is that PSA is not going to charge them for the grading. However, they will be charged for the shipping. Yes, it's cash flow management, but to John's point, it's cash flow diversion also, and that's part of the issue.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
Yes.
I'm doing this thing December 4th at the fairgrounds in New York State here in Syracuse, right? Let's say I get 300 cards for submission to SGC that day. That's going to be approximately $6,000, right? If I was a bad dude, I'm not, at least in my opinion. If I was a bad dude, though, I could take that $6,000 and who knows what with it, right? Go to the casino, buy a vintage graded card and not pay my bill, and then those people are left holding the bag, and I'm gonna have a lot of angry people at me. So this can just be so easily avoided to me.
Right. So here's the question, though: shouldn't PSA collect? So what you're saying is a lot of subgraders. The same thing in the comments. A lot of subgraders do collect up front, but the subgraders, what do they do with that money? And that's what people are missing.
Well, what they should be doing is paying their bill. They're
And
making
but
money.
when they have a problem like this, but John, when they have a problem like this, how do they not share the names and the cards with the police or PSA
of the subbers?
Yeah, how does Ludwig?
Because it all goes in as one big sub. Like it may be like 30 different people subbing cards, but it goes in as one big sub. With all due respect, PSA, not just PSA, like SGC, all the subbers, they're all the grading companies, they're dealing with the bulk subbers. Hey, you're sending us 100 cards. You know whose cards these are. We're going to grade them. Pay your bill. We're going to grade them. Send them back to you, and you're going to get them back to the rightful owners. They don't want to know the 30 names.
But Erica, John, Erica made a point before, and Erica, your point was Ludkins should have that information. Ludkins should know.
Yes,
and Ludkins is refusing to give that to PSA. And John's right. PSA doesn't have it, which is why they need Ludkins to help them. And this is an ethical issue. I mean, not only is the money diversion an ethical issue, but to not then help the person, I think is even worse. And that's what you were talking about.
Yes. That company should at least hand over the information to what card belongs to which customers. So at least the customers can be at least taken care of. This is a shame. And it leaves bad taste in people's mouths. And it could stir people away from the hobby, because I know for me personally, it took me a long time to trust the group subber. At first, I was like, I don't want to send my cards off. I don't know if I can trust them. I don't know, because you just don't know. But I found somebody, that I use, and haven't had any issues. But hearing stories like this is very disheartening, especially if the hobby wants to grow. We can't have these issues anymore.
Well, let's talk about something then a little bit more positive. Some of us may know, and he doesn't know I'm about to say this, but John Newman had an unbelievable podcast this week. If you listen to Sports Card Nation, he had Nat Turner on from Collectors or Collectors.
This story we just got done talking broke like too late for that conversation.
So first of all, congratulations on landing the interview. Can you give us a couple snippets for people that haven't heard it?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it released yesterday, but that process was like a 3-month. He's obviously a busy guy to get him on. There's a couple reschedules in there. A nice thing with Nat, and I don't know him super well. I know him a little bit. I know him a little bit better now because we obviously talk on the air as well as off. And he was very generous with his time. He didn't really give me a sort of time limit. So, he was very, very candid. I kind of, went after him a little bit on up charges, which I, as many, hate. He gave his answer to it. Even, a funny moment was he even admitted himself that before he was in the group that acquired PSA, he hated up charges too. And then, in his own words, he explained why now that he's on the inside, he understands them better. I don't really agree necessarily with that assessment, but I kind of closed out that segment of the conversation by saying, Nat, we're just going to agree to disagree. It's only happened to me once. It's happened to others a lot more than that. I just don't like them, right? You pay your rate for, your card to be graded. And that's it, right? If I order a steak at a restaurant and the chef says, "Man, this steak came out even better than I usually do it. I know it says $30 on the menu, but this is now a $40 steak," right? So we agreed to disagree. The other thing I took, I mean, it's a 50-minute interview. And, shameless plug, check it out. I don't want to give it, everything away. But even, we talked about fanatics. I wasn't sure how much he would say or kind of be sort of vanilla or down the middle, but he was pretty vocal that he doesn't like where the hobby was going with the manufacturers, and he's hopeful that fanatics can kind of do better and whatnot. He also said that, like many of us, right? He hoped that it would be sort of like there used to be, where we'd have, 3 or 4 companies making baseball products, basketball, football products. But on the same hand, he said, like a lot of people, excited to see some brands come back, right? Topps Chrome football, Topps Chrome basketball. So, he said, hey, he knows a lot of the people in Fanatics, and he says that he has a lot of faith that they're very intelligent and are going to push most of the right buttons. I think he's a little more confident than I am, but he also knows them better than I do. So
one of the nice things that I heard in the interview was, I always I'm an optimistic guy. I always like looking forward and what's going to be good. But he mentioned a specific area that you asked about. Could you talk about his thoughts and your thoughts on tickets? And then I think maybe we can do a little show and tell.
Yeah. So I asked him, PSA is one of the few grading companies that grades, tickets. And I asked him about that. I asked him, hey, do you collect any yourself? Because it's a space I'm trying to get into. It's tricky because we're seeing these prices go up. And to me, when someone asks me, sometimes I get some questions each day. Hey, John, this or my opinion on that. One of the questions I get almost every week is, hey, what still has room to grow, or what can be worth more money that we haven't hit the ceiling? That's the title of this episode. And my answer is always tickets. And so I asked Nat, what his, as part owner in a sense of one of the few companies that grade tickets, what his feeling is on them. Does he collect them? And so we talked about that. He tries to get tickets, and like he said, a lot of it is starting to go. Prices are going higher. He's been sort of, outbid at the end, but he does have a badge from every Masters, from the first one to the latest one. That's sort of his thing. He's PC, and he's got some other stuff. He's a Pearl Jam fan, so he's going to grade some of his Pearl Jam tickets. That's probably more for sentimental than resale, obviously. So we talked about tickets, and it just made not only tickets, but I've even, and I know everyone here does other stuff besides cards, whether it be art or who knows what, right? I've got a few things I figured we could kind of show them, but tickets is something I'm trying to get more into, but it's getting harder as more people, or the light bulbs are going on and people are like, hey, no, that's pretty cool. Because when you think of a ticket, guys, especially vintage tickets, right? What did people do? They went to the game, right? The ticket gets crumpled, goes in the pocket, thrown away after the game. They weren't even cards in the vintage era. They threw them around, put them in bike spoke. So they weren't saving, for the most part, saving tickets. So they get washed, destroyed. So I think the ticket market there's a lot more scarcity with tickets, and so I'll show one real quick. It's not a major league ticket. It's from the Somerset League, but this is a 1908 baseball ticket for admit one to the grandstand. For Frederick, your neck of the woods there, Danny, in Maryland.
Yep.
And what struck me about this ticket, this thing's 114 years old, and you made yourself bigger, Danny. But this thing's 114 years old, and it looks like, like brand very great shape. Let me just put it that way. And so, what's it worth? I don't know. Whatever someone's willing, I paid $20 for it. Full disclosure, it was worth at least $20 to me to have something 114 years old, baseball, but that's one thing. I don't know if anyone else wants to share.
Yeah, well, Eric, I was going to ask you because John made a point when we were talking about this a day or two ago. When you go out to any main event right now, how many of your tickets are actually printed on paper, and how many of them are now digital, sporting and not sporting?
Mostly all digital, and I hate it. I personally hate it. I am the girl that keeps her tickets. I keep my Broadway booklets. I keep everything. And recently, me and my daughter went to the WNBA finals game, which the Aces won, and was digital. And I'm like, man, I would love to have this printed out. So you know what I did? I just took a screenshot of it, and I said maybe I'll go to like FedEx and print it out, so then like me and my daughter can just have it as like a keepsake. But I'm like, I just missed the actual just ticket, And
I think to that point, what if you could have gotten Becky Harmon's autograph?
I know. I won the ticket, and I would have been. I said I'm willing to pay an extra $5-10 to have to print it. I hope they make it that an option. Ticketmaster, if you're listening.
Well, I think in some stadiums, and this point was brought up by Mr. Newman. You can, John, explain this. You can physically go to the box office.
Yeah, so let's do. I'm sorry I got to do this to Erica here with a recent World Series moment with the Phillies Astros. Right,
Ooh.
We saw the Astros throw the combined no hitter, and where it's only the second time. There's, I believe, second or third time there's been a third time Larson, Halladay, in this combined one that there's been a no hitter in postseason. Second time, I believe, in the World Series. So if you were at that game, I believe you could go to the box office and request hard copy tickets to signify, because it's a historic moment, right? It's only the third time in postseason history that a team did not get a hit in a full game. So you can get hard copies that way. They're not going to give them to you. Now, maybe you can speak to this more, Danny. I know in certain cases, like with Adley Rushman's debut in Baltimore, the team itself gave out that to commemorate that, through the gate.
Well, so there's a number of factors, and yeah, I mean, Adley was a unique situation. The Adley Rutschman promotion, quite frankly, they knew a little ways out of when they were going to promote him, and they had time to think about how to maximize from a marketing standpoint, and having the paper tickets is certainly a way to do that. But when you have somebody who hits a walk-off home run or something that they couldn't plan in advance, they're not going to have that available.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that bothers me is some box offices will give you the paper ticket that corresponds to your actual ticket. Now, other ones give you a generic general admission ticket, which to me is far different. When Cal Ripken got his 3,000th hit in Minnesota, after he got the hit, the Minnesota Twins made up a commemorative ticket package that they sold to people. So when I see those tickets around, and it's Cal Ripken's 3,000th hit, it's got the Minnesota Twins certificate. If you look at it, it's actually a generic ticket. So the one of, the people who are at the game and have the real ticket would be a coincidence. They never, would have known that Cal would have definitely gotten his 3,000th hit. So, it's one of those things. Yes, I would like to get the paper ticket, but if it's not my seat, to me, that's not as great. That being said, Gunnar Henderson was called up around the time nobody was expecting. And I just got, and the reflection here is going to be awful, but I'm not taking it out. This is Gunnar Henderson's debut in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So for Oriole fans, this would not have been a ticket unless you were coincidentally in Cleveland, and there's going to be more scarcity to that. Now, on the other hand, when Cal Ripken tied Lou Gehrig for the consecutive game streak, that was a countdown. And what you can't see is there's actually an embossed piece over here. That's how they let you in the stadium that day, so they wouldn't tear the ticket. They actually embossed it to prove that you've been through the game. Now, if I can show my favorite ticket that I have right now, this is the 1966 World Series, and this is Game 4. This is one of my pride because this was the Orioles' first World Series clinching game, but it was also Sandy Koufax's last game as a major leaguer in uniform. Now, he didn't play in that game, but that was his last game as a major leaguer. So that's got some double sentimentality to me. And then I collect, like John said, and Erica, you want things that are, personal. So I have, actually, you can see the other way behind me. Those are 1993 Oriole All-Star Game tickets. Those were actually a set of 4. Those were my family seats. And in the background, those seats, there's a picture in the background of the tickets when you put them together. And it forms a picture, which is really cool. And that's part of what I like is some of the artwork on the older tickets. The newer tickets just don't have that. And Erica, I know you certainly have an eye. What are your thoughts on the look of the tickets versus digital?
Oh, the look of the physical ticket, especially from years ago, just amazing. Just like artwork on it. I remember looking at like the Sixers tickets they used to have like AI, the players on the ticket.
Yep.
It was just nice. But now the tickets they have now are just poo poo. I hope Ticketmaster does some changes, even if you have an option to pay, for the real ticket that we want as collectors or just people who hold on for things for sentimental value.
All right. If you could have any ticket in history, real or fake, which one are you taking, Erica?
Ooh, good question. History. Oh gosh.
No pressure. No pressure. The entire history of the world. I need you to pick one event.
Oh, probably the ticket up close to see a NASA space event takeoff.
That's cool.
Front row. Yep.
John, I know you're a fan of artwork because that Jackie that you're so proud of is one of my favorite artistic baseball cards. So I'm going to ask you 2 things. If it's nearby, can you show off the artwork and your opinion on the same thing on the tickets visually, not just, real versus digital?
I remember, I've been going to sporting events since 6, 7 years old, right? And I remember, like Erica pointed out, it's a great point. They used to put different players on the tickets for each game. If you had like season tickets, every game had a different, usually key player from the team. Sometimes they made multiple appearances, maybe in different poses and whatnot. You'd have, like in Erica's case, Iverson in game 20, maybe dribbling, another one where he's passing the ball. And that I always thought that was cool because it was dual collectability. Not only do you have a ticket, but you have a picture of said player on the ticket. Now, like she pointed out, a lot of times it just has the date, maybe what the ticket costs and who's playing, the Ticketmaster logo on it and that sort of thing. No one won the Powerball last night, so I'm going to play today. I will say this. If I do happen to win, I know it's like 1 in 282 million or billion or something like that. But, you got to be in it to win it. I'm going to be in it. If I do happen to win it, I will get what I would call my Grail ticket, which obviously would be Jackie's debut in the major leagues. Going to cost me probably almost $1 million, but when you win whatever that Powerball is, I think I'll get it. Then I won't even have to ask my wife if I can spend $1 million today after winning that. But here's the Jackie. This is you're talking about this, right?
Yeah, because the art on that, and to get to cards for a second, I want to talk about some of the artwork and how that's changed also. That to me is a piece of art. It's literally been done by artists as a piece of art. But when you talk about the evolvement of cards over time and you just, to me, that can't compare to a Panini or Topps product right now. Maybe that I'm unique in that because the printing process is so far ahead right now. But I don't know. What do you guys think, Erica? From the artistic side, could you talk a little bit about what you think of the current cards, and also for those that might not be familiar, kind of what you do also?
Yes. So my background, I just been a lifetime collector of all different items, cards, books, artwork, etc. I recently did have an event. It was a museum exhibit. I always wanted to have my own museum exhibit, so it was a pop up, a 2-day pop up. Me and my daughter did in Philadelphia, of our card collection. We collect a lot of Victorian era 1800 cards, early 1900s cards, and even current cards. So we did focus on an African American experience. It was really good. My goal is to take this exhibit all around the world as a pop up and eventually host other people in their collections. So I'm just trying to create a universe of loving what you collect with people who truly love their items. As far as artwork on cards, present day, I'm middle of the road. There's some cards that catches my eye, but most of the time it's just like all the same old, same old. I do prefer vintage cards. They're just gorgeous. Even with its imperfections, it truly tells a story. Each individual card, whether it's faded or not faded, or cut or missing pieces on it, is just true beauty. The cards like that should be in museums. One day I hope to have my collection in museums. For a long-term exhibit. Yeah, so that's my 2 cents.
Well, so let me ask you a question, not to put you on the spot. I'm a huge fan of the vintage cards for the artwork. Do you have anything within arm's reach or in the room that you?
Let me see.
And in the meantime, John, do you what other? I know you had some other tickets, so.
Well, I don't have I love other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love stuff besides cards, right? As much as I love cards, like again, Jackie Robinson. Most people knows he's my guy, right? Here's a Jackie Robinson business card from the 60s. This was, business cards he'd hand out to people. I mean, that's just pretty cool. Nice. You just think about this could have been in his pocket. He handed this.
Well, you don't see that logo often. I mean, that was his company logo or his personal.
That
logo.
was his. Yeah, that was his. Like, hey, if you need to get a hold of me, his contact information is on there. Back when business cards were a thing. Now we have digital business cards. And the other thing, you find stuff like this. Everyone knows who Cy Berger is. He basically saved Topps. Topps. We may not be talking about Topps today without Cy Berger. If you don't know his history, he's a legendary figure in the hobby, even though he's not around anymore. But I picked this up. I just thought this was such a cool piece. This is Cy Berger's 1996 spring training media pass. So with this media pass, he could go all over spring training and just get into the game, talk to the players, probably work on contracts and whatnot. And it's got the clip where he can put it onto his probably button-up shirt. And he wore this. I mean, this is a legend of the hobby, and this is his 1996 media pass. And that's just cool. I mean,
he would have been older then too.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I think he was born in the 20s, so he's probably in the 70s. I could look it up, but that just off the top of my head. So it's just a cool piece of history, right? Like there's only one of these for that year.
I know
unless
you bought another one. Because John, you bought it and then you texted me, so I couldn't buy it from under you. Eric, I swear, he clicks purchase and then calls me up and says, "Guess what I just got?" I said, "Is there another one?" He goes, "No."
Then honestly, I'm not trying to it's not for sale. I don't have it listed anywhere.
See,
nothing else comes up. So I don't know. Obviously he had one in 95 and 94 and all the way back, right? I don't know. Either those are in someone's collection already. Maybe he threw them out. They just got tossed out. This was the only one I found. And I wasn't looking for a Cy Berger media pass. I just typed in Cy Berger in the search box and it came up. And I'm like, even before I bought it, Danny, I'm like, well, let's see how many, is there a bunch of these on here? And so then I even went more specific. Cy Berger media pass, Cy Berger pass. and this was the only one that came up. And I bought it. I'm like, because how many? There's only going to be one in '96, right? So I didn't find any of the other years.
Well,
I'm like, I got to get that.
There's only one because he didn't do parallels.
Yeah. It's somewhere Cyberger's smiling, but just a cool piece of history in general, right? Sometimes we don't have to buy things all the time because, hey, what's that going to be worth in 20 years? Sure, nothing wrong with thinking that way. I'm not picking on anybody, but sometimes like Erica's tag, right? Love what you collect. Sometimes it's just fun pieces of history, the stories behind them, the fact that there's just not a lot of them out there, if any more. And I'm a historian of the hobby. I started in 1979. I care about how we got to where we are today from things that have happened in the past. I'm a history guy, and just in general, not even cards, but just in life. And so to have a piece of history like that is part of, he's wearing that in 1996, and now it's sitting here in Syracuse, New York. When you think of stuff along those terms, it's just kind of it's interesting, and I always look for stuff like that. I think more people are starting to search those things out, especially sometimes where the card market is. They look for other alternative things that might pique their interest. So,
well, Inside Burger is a perfect transition when you talk about art and cards and changing the look of what cards were. And not everybody likes the 70 tops tall boy basketballs. I happen to kind of like the art on this.
Ooh, it's nice.
Maybe I'm in a minority. It's a second year Kareem, Mark Doyle Cinder. And I like the art. Now, to me, and going back to another ticket, this to me is when tickets started going, I guess, ultra modern or modern. I mean, look at all the chrome and shiny. This is the first game at Turner Field, which, for those of you who don't know, was the stadium before where they are now. It was the first time I'd seen, kind of a blinged up ticket, that wasn't a Super Bowl ticket or, something like that. I mean, it was the first game in a new stadium, but, I thought it was just from a design standpoint, a different level than, like you were saying before with Ticketmaster or some of the generic ones. Erica, did you find anything?
No, not within reach.
Not within
well,
arm's
look at all the artwork behind
yeah.
you, Danny. Like bump up your bifocals.
There you go.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, so Erica, what's your Instagram handle if people want to contact you about your stuff?
Yes, it's Love What You Collect on Instagram. That's the best way to reach me. And I will be working on some stuff for YouTube and the podcast as well. So please follow. And if anyone wants to share their collection with the world via, interviews or just talking, feel free to reach out to me as well, because I'm just trying to just connect collectors with the world. That's my goal.
Well, I love this comment. I always tell people, don't let others influence you. Just collect what you love, ... So it's so great to see Erica's tag. Yes, that is her personality. Thank you, Eloy.
And Erica lives like, people come up with taglines or mantras, right? And sometimes, they don't necessarily walk the walk or walk the talk, right? But Erica, I've gotten to know her a little bit, and she epitomizes her tagline. And she spreads that word for others. It's a great mantra, right? Because what if you don't love what you're collecting, right? What are we doing? What are we doing, right? What are we doing it for? I get it. I'm a dealer. I set up at shows. We like to make sales. I'm not going to be a hypocrite about it. But I also have stuff that never makes it to the show with me, right? That's my own personal collection. So if you don't love kind of what you collect and stuff, you got to reassess what you're doing. Because why are you doing it other than being like just a straight seller? And there's nothing wrong with that. Teach their own. I do both myself. Couple comments I'm reading. The Cyberger business card on eBay, and he does have autographed baseball cards. If you ever buy like the Topps contracts on eBay or from auction sites, he's also one of the signers. I think I have one of those too here.
And shout out to and I'll give a shout out to my brother. If anybody remembers this name, put it in the comments. My brother got me Cheeto Martinez's Topps contract, who was a seventh outfielder on the depth chart of the 91 Orioles, I believe. And my brother got that for me as a birthday present. So,
yeah. So not a huge player. I remember him. Not anywhere close to Hall of Famer. You may some of the old school guys might remember Milt May. I believe he was a catcher. Played on numerous teams. So this is Milt May's. Let me see if I can move my computer here where I can get. This is Milt May's Topps contract. So there it says Milton Scott May. It's got all the legalese, right? $75 Topps paid him to be part of their card set. You can see it's dated May 3rd, 1975. So I'm sure this was probably for either the 75 set or the 76 set. There's Milt May's autograph, but right below Milt May's autograph, there's Cy Berger countersigning the contract. It's just cool pieces of history. Obviously, if this was a Willie Mays, it's going to cost more than a Milt May. But just the fact that this is like a 101. This is really a 101. That both signed Milt May, Cy Berger, and where are you going to get that, right? It just happened. Someone acquired it, and then you acquire it from them. And it's just, again, another piece of baseball history and hobby history, right? It's a Topps contract for a Major League Baseball player. And it kind of checks both of those boxes. And if you don't know Cy Berger's legacy or what he meant to the hobby, just iconic. You know, we talk about like a Mount Rushmore, and Dr. Beck might have one of those spots. I would argue Cy Berger probably should have one of the other three for sure. So anytime you can find that stuff, and Eloy, same to you. Have a great weekend. That's just cool things. It's on my desk. I don't bring it to shows. It's just a cool piece of history. We got Kevin in the green room. There he is. Now he's not in the green room. Welcome, Kevin.
Hey, everybody. This is just really fun this morning. Actually talking about collecting and what we love and kind of just having fun. So the ticket talk has been fun, as I was always a ticket collector as a kid. I had all my Brewers games and stuff. I don't know. They used to be just in a shoebox. When I was more in that 8, 9, 10, 11 range. I don't know where they went, unfortunately, but I just wanted to show a couple of things real quick, and then I'll hop off. But I keep my ticket collection basically in this kind of funky envelope, which is an old Grateful Dead mail order. That's how you used to get the tickets. And awesome. So I just have this old ratty, like probably 30-year-old envelope that I keep all my tickets in. But I just wanted to just show a couple tickets that are just kind of fun and meaningful for me, because it's been fun with people showing stuff off today and really talking about collecting and not so much all the latest hobby drama or whatever. It's nice. So I'll just show a couple.
Well, Kevin, I'm going to make you answer the question I asked everybody else. If you could have any ticket, anytime in history, what would it be?
I put it in the comments. As a kid growing up in Green Bay, I'd love to have a ticket from the Ice Bowl. I think that would be really cool. And then I was there the day Favre came off the bench to replace an injured Don Makowski. I was a senior in high school. And I used to have that ticket that was in that shoebox. And I'd love to have that ticket. It's from sometime September like 20th, 1992. That's kind of the day of the streak. It didn't begin that day, but that was the day that Favre took over. It was pretty exciting. I'd love to have that ticket too. Packers versus Bengals from 1992. But I just wanted to show a couple of meaningful tickets for me. This is kind of cool. This is like a Grateful Dead ticket from a show I went to in 1994. That's Jerry's birthday, Jerry Garcia's birthday.
Just hold it still. It's shake down straight a little.
From the Palace at Auburn Hills, which is pretty cool. And then this is from the last show, their last show ever, July 9th, 1995, from Soldier Field in Chicago. And then this is, I just got two more here. This is interesting. This is from a show after Jerry passed away. This was from the final run before they were going to demolish the Boston Garden.
Look at
this
the
is actually a show that never happened.
But look at the design.
Grateful Dead.
I mean, that's a beautiful ticket.
Yeah,
that's gorgeous.
It's cool. They put like a little stamp of Jerry on the back. Grateful Dead ticket services. You could, because people would order ahead of time for the tickets, and then
they call those ghost concerts or ghost games. If you've ever,
yeah. So that's kind of a neat little thing. And then one last one from one of the most memorable Packer games that I went to was the wild card from the 2003 season. That was the infamous Matt Hasselbeck game where we're going to get the ball and we're going to score. I don't know if anybody remembers that one.
Yeah.
And then Al Harris had that pick six in overtime, which was great. He picked it off right in front of us and ran it in for a touchdown. And it was just, it's memories. And I love looking through my tickets, and in those rare occasions when you do get them, I still always try to throw them in like an inner pocket. But it's fun, and it's funny. Some of my Grateful Dead tickets are pretty tattered. You can kind of tell maybe the state of mind I was in on that particular night.
Well, first of all, I love the Grateful Dead, and I'm too far away, but I just got my dad for a birthday present. He was at the Watkins Glen concert with the band and
73.
Yeah. And so I got him a coffee mug that has the concert poster on the side. So when you talk about collect what you love, this was a $15 online purchase that my dad is going to love for the rest of his life, just because of that memory of being at that moment. And that's what we're talking about. It's connecting to that memory. And, Kevin, the thing I loved about your Favre, Don Mikowski ticket was that was unplanned. You didn't go to that game saying they're going to put in Brett Favre, who's going to be a Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
And so that makes the scarcity and the coolness to me off the charts.
Yeah, there are some of those that do float around on eBay and stuff, but that would be something I'd love to have, because it was so memorable. Because I growing up as a kid, in Green Bay, you go to church and then you go to the Packers game on Sundays, and we saw a lot of losing football in the 80s and early 90s. And to kind of have that glimmer of hope and an exciting win, it was I was there with my mom and my dad, and it was cool,
Well, you've helped us transition to the NFL. So, but real quick before you go, Packers minus 3.5 over the Lions.
Does that mean they're predicted to win?
By 3.5.
Yeah, I think they will win. If they lose on Sunday, then I am generally concerned.
Well, Kevin, thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you. And great job by Kevin, and awesome for him to share those, right? And it's not just the tick, right? We were talking about how many people kept the tickets, right? A lot of those got destroyed. But it's something he can look back on, especially when sporting events, even concerts, and just remember that day, different stories, even leading up. Maybe something happened on the way to the game. Maybe something happened in the stadium. He talked about he was with his mom and dad for that game, and just those sort of memories. It's just so much that revolves around tickets. I think we're seeing more people get into them. And I think that continues to grow. With that, obviously, prices most likely will increase, and I'll get priced out of some stuff. But that it is what it is, right? And it makes that hunt, it makes that chase fun. And then when you acquire something, I think you appreciate it more. And obviously, it may us talking about it. He wanted to come on and share some of his. Collection.
And that's what we're here for, guys. We've put up the link a couple times. It's in the comments. If you want to jump on, feel free. This is a live show. if you are listening on Saturday morning or watching on Saturday morning. I'm sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, and tickets aren't just have to be sporting events, right? We saw concerts, right? You could be even like daytime talk shows. You got to have tickets to get in there. Maybe have the ticket to the Oprah where Tom Cruise jumped on the couch like an idiot, right? I'm sure that's got some sort of intrinsic
All right.
value.
All right, I'm cutting you off at this point, John. On
I don't
today's
know
show,
what's in this. I don't know what's in this coffee. I can't.
on
guarantee
today's
anything.
show, John has said he wants both the Jackie Robinson debut ticket and Oprah ticket with Tom Cruise. Would be
I don't really want it. I'm just saying if you
Erica,
had
that's
that
ticket. No, that's
I'm,
love.
if you,
Love what you collect, John. Love what you
Yep.
collect.
well,
Yep.
I don't have that yet. I don't have that yet.
So I want to go.
Someone
to
send it to me.
Right, exactly. I can't. Moving to football cards, trying to anyway. I'm going to give Erica a softball on this one.
Okay.
Erica, do you think there's any quarterbacks in the NFL this year that have played their value up to where it was at the beginning of the season a little bit lower? Anybody that you wish you bought more
I love
of?
the softball.
Yeah. Anybody you might have bought more of if you could have, or maybe people should think about selling right now?
Well, I would. Well, of course, I would say Jalen Hurts.
What a great one.
I would say Jalen Hurts, and it to me, it's kind of I laugh about how these things work because I know in off season I've worked a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 Jalen Hurts cards, and people didn't even want them. Like they were just like, I mean, one card he was out with just whatever, like and I'm like, I like the card. I think he's potential. I like him off the field, cool. But now, it's funny when you really see the full circle of how the hobby reacts and treats, situations like this. But of course, I think Jalen Hurts is a great buy. I think he's a great player, both on and off the court, field. Yeah,
Right.
and to tip my hat to what him and the Eagles are doing this season. It's really amazing, and I'm very proud of them and their accomplishments so far.
John, I'll give you the same question. Who has surprised you and who's disappointed you?
Well, I will say, I wasn't a Jalen Hurts believer. I know Erica probably hates me saying that. I think there was probably people in Philadelphia that were questioning him, before the season.
Yeah.
He's obviously he's playing very well. He's proven people wrong, myself included. I'm a Steelers fan. That's a nightmare in its own right. Danny's taking relishing that, but a guy I love, and I know I'm going to be a homer here. We talk about quarterbacks, and listen, I'm not naive. Quarterbacks drive the football hobby. It's been that way. It's not a new phenomenon, but we're starting to see receivers get a little more love. We're even seeing some defensive guys get a little bit more love. I think you're seeing, more people kind of look at Micah Parsons not just as a defensive player, but just as, a great player to maybe put some money into and buy some rookies, buy some autos. Being a homer, I love George Pickens. We don't have we have a high school offensive coordinator in Matt Canada. So if the Steelers ever get a real offensive coordinator, George Pickens is going to. He's the best receiver on the Steelers. He was the best. Again, I'm being, very brash here. He was the best. He wasn't the first receiver taken in the draft. He just is the best receiver in the draft. He just was coming off an injury, and then people sort of got a little cold feet with him. The Steelers stole him where they got him, and if they get a coordinator and the right coaching in place, he's really going to, skyrocket as far as he's already. People who watch him already will tell you, like football people who know, like this guy's the best. He's better than Deontay Johnson, who just got paid like a number 1 receiver, and that's going to be interesting because to me he's better than Deontay, and so when his contract becomes an issue, they're going to have to pay him. And from all reports, he's a really good guy in the locker room. Doesn't make a lot of waves, and so if they get an offensive coordinator, he's going to be even better. So I love George Pickens. He struggled lately, Danny, but you got Drake London in Atlanta that I like. I don't like, Kenny Pickett. I'm again, my own team. Again, we can point back to the OC and Matt Canada, not doing him any favors. I'm sort of on the fence. I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket like some might. So I don't know if that answers your question or just muddies the water more. But
Well, I think two things. One, it's clear you're a Steelers fan. Two, I am now legally forced to say this. Hobby Hotline is not responsible for the thoughts and opinions of our guest and host. Any opinions expressed by our guest and host may not be factually based and may be completely biased. Okay, so moving forward, I'm going to give you a couple names that I don't think people are talking about. I think Marcus Mariota has seen a little bit of a resurgence in the last couple of weeks, and people forget how high he was taken, how highly he was thought of. So whether it's late development, right team, right offensive coordinator, I think if you just look at his cards, you will see a rise, even if they're lower value than the Josh Allens and some of the younger guys. And he's somebody who I think has just helped himself a little bit. On the downside, I got to say Kyler Murray and Tom Brady. I think both of them, from a pure card standpoint, have done negative value to their cards. If I were to invest in quarterbacks right now, I don't know that Kyler Murray makes my top couple at all. I think, for whatever reason, he's fallen behind, I think, that group of guys. And, I would say that I wish that other positions were valued more. I guess the question is, and I'll throw this back at you guys, if it wasn't a quarterback, okay, who in the NFL right now should be on par if we're talking about talent? John threw out a great name. Michael Parsons is one that I think, or an Aaron Donald. But Erica, John, anybody have a name that comes to mind that you think should value like a quarterback?
That's hard. Me personally, when I think of that question, I think of like Jerry Rice, Deion Sanders, like guys like that. That's when, like, compared to a quarterback pricing, that's what I think of. Yeah.
And you know what? That's a good point, because their cards do go for more than a lot of other positions on their original stuff. So you're right. They've probably broken through a little bit.
That's a little bit, but they're so undervalued, and they shouldn't be, but they're proven.
John, I think there's a comment on the chat for you here.
Yeah, TJ Watt and Micah Parsons to me are, Watt's got to just stay healthy. It seems like it's becoming an every year thing. He misses at least a few games. But when he's in there, he changes that whole team. And, to answer your question too, Danny, I think of, like, who are the best at their positions, right? Non-quarterbacks, right? I know he's hurt, but Jonathan Taylor is just a great player. The problem with JT was he had so many carries at Wisconsin that, it's like a tire, right? There's only so much thread. Bosa, you can mention both Bosas there. And then I think of another guy, right? Justin Jefferson, just one of the best. We talk about, Erica mentioned Jerry Rice to go, right? There probably is not going to be another Jerry Rice. People want to say who could approach that. And I'm not saying Justin Jefferson is Jerry Rice, but he's probably what we have today, the closest in that conversation, barring that he stays healthy and all that stuff that comes along with NFL football. So Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor, I know he's battling some injuries. That's always going to be the fear. Their running back shelf lives are just the shortest in football, just because they're carrying the ball. A starter and a good one is going to carry the ball 20 to 25 times, maybe even catch a couple passes, take all those hits, and just, wear down physically and mentally. And, I think I read the average career for running backs 4 to 6 years, right? That doesn't bode well.
It's not even that much, John. I think.
Yeah. I'm saying that's for a starting good one.
Oh yeah, right. Like, look at
that doesn't. But people in the hobby want to see it for double-digit years. So that's why I think we've seen two things with running back, right? The hobby sort of backed off them, and we've even seen in real world terms, we've seen NFL teams not pay and draft them in the first round anymore. We see them go more in the second, third rounds, and they're not paying like crazy contracts like they used to. Adrian Peterson and Zeke Elliott, come to mind. They're not going to pay those guys like that anymore. You have your exceptions to the rule, Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and that sort of thing. But I think those days are sort of becoming the rear view mirror. Tyreek Hill. There's so many. You mentioned Brady, Danny, Brady's I know he's struggling. I'm sure the personal issues are factoring into that onto the field stuff. But listen, if Brady could finish the year terrible, retire, and he still got all those rings, those MVPs, and when we look back, we might say, yeah, his last year was, really bad. I would almost use another word. But all the years before that were exemplary. And
I think from where his prices were a year ago, it's going to take a while to get back up there. I mean, you can look at Willie Mays' last year with the Mets or, just with the Chargers. You're right. Nobody remembers that when we talk about
that. I can argue, Danny, if you're just buying Tom Brady now, it's like the Drake song. If you're reading this, it's too late. If you're just buying Brady now, it's too late. Like where you should have been in, maybe after he won his fourth Super Bowl rather than ring 7. You know what I mean? Like Brady now is more like people who already collect him. I got to add that to my collection. I don't think anyone's like waking up. I could be wrong. What do I know, right? I've only done this a couple years. I don't think anyone's waking up today and say, you know what, I'm going to start a Tom Brady PC. He's 45. I probably should have did this. I mean, you can. A kid, young kid who's learning about Brady. I'm sort of being tongue in cheek.
Well, there was an eBay account that I found that was selling a lot of Brady stuff. The seller was a G. Bunchen. And there was a lot of stuff for sale. So
what I want to know is not what she's selling. Well, who's she buying now? That's what I'm more interested in.
I think it's Zach Wilson, like everybody else, evidently.
I hope not for her sake.
Yeah, so very few TB12 autos out there in the wild. I am going to make a general comment on this. The more exclusive autograph contracts you see, the less autographs you're going to see players signing complimentary. I watched that personally with Adley Rutschman when he first made the low minor leagues. He was a prevalent signer. When he got his exclusive deal, it was virtually impossible to get an autograph. Yeah, John.
I don't know the answer to this. How is Tom Brady with, like, if you run into him in public somewhere and you asked him, hey, Tom, I'm a big fan. Will you sign one for me? Is he an avid signer or is he sort of like, sorry, buddy, I can't do it. I'm under contract or not today. Like, does anyone know how his temperament is just on being approached? And I'm not even saying at the stadium, but
maybe not this week. But I find a lot of these guys, if nobody knows, they're happy to go around the contract. Not to call out any athletes, but I've seen a lot of the athletes that won't sign when there's a lot of people around. But if you hang out after the game and you're by the bus or something, they're going to do a quick signature for a child. And by the way, autographs, adults, stop pushing kids out of the way. Let the kids get the autographs. That's my little 2 cents. As a father of 3 and 2 boys who go to minor league games and got pushed out of the way by a guy.
Oh, man.
I've seen some crazy stuff too.
Okay, so just to wrap it up, we got a big weekend of sports. What are you looking forward to? World Series, football, college football? Erica, where are your eyeballs the next couple of days?
World Series. Hopefully the fighting Phils are turning around and fight again.
I got news for you. I thought they were going to take this series, so I still think they got a lot of fight in them. John, what are you watching?
Well, the Steelers have a bye week, so that's good news.
John,
for
they have a
Steelers.
bye week every week. They're off every week.
We have a bye week. Here's how bad the Steelers are. We have a bye week this week, and we're still 5-point underdogs. How does that? The bye week is a 5-point favorite over the Steelers.
That's because Matt Canada's working on the playbook for next week. He's already down 5.
Yeah, Matt, don't get me. We could do a whole show with Matt Canada. I don't think many people would watch. I'd feel better, but it would be just a self. World Series, and I got to say one thing about the World Series. I'm not a fan. I'm a Mets guy. I just like to see good baseball. And honestly, we're at 3-2. Game 4, there was 25 strikeouts out of 54 outs. Game 5, out of 54 outs, 24 Ks. I know pitchers are good. I know pitchers are major leaguers too. But come on, batters, you're major league, but get into cages. I don't know that's unheard of. Half the outs are Ks. The balls are not even put in play. To me, it's boring. It's sort of embarrassing. I'm not a major league player, but I played baseball. I still play softball. Come on, man, put the ball in play. 24 and 25 strikeouts back to back. Hit the ball. I'm at the point, if you're gonna strike out, just lay down a bunt. At least the ball's in play, and someone's got to make a play.
Well, I don't disagree, and I think on that note, we've kind of gone through our time here. I will simply say there's a reason on base percentage is sought after, and if you don't believe in it, that game should prove to you the value. Erica, John, I would like to say thank you for joining me on this crazy ride this morning, and to all of you out there, thank you, and we'll see you on the next Hobby Hotline.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.